As a MAGA Christian who's barely left a small town in rural America, I want to give it to you straight about Washington, D.C. It's a war zone. Because you can tell by looking at me, I'm an alpha male. There's two tough men that walk the face of this flat earth. John Wayne, and he's dead, and you're looking at the other one. But nothing scares me more than a big city. If they got a pro sports team, buddy, I'm locking my doors before I even leave the driveway. Just to be safe, you know. And, but I was in D.C. not too long ago, and it was terrifying. It was a war zone. First off, there's nowhere to park a plus-size truck. So eventually I found a spot, and I climbed down the ladder, and as soon as my feet touched the pavement, it was just everything coming at me. I said, public transportation. And then I looked to my right, and I said, people darker than me. And one of them looked at me, and he said, hello there, buddy. How are you doing? And then I said, good, sir. But in my head, I'm thinking, I'm not your buddy, guy. And then I looked down the street, and there's two people holding hands. And I said, finally, we got some normalcy. And then I zoomed out, because that's how I look at people. I look at their hands, and I zoom out. And it was two men holding hands. And they were facing away from me and walking away from me. But they were doing it at me. It was a personal attack. It's how I felt. So now I'm in the middle of D.C., sweating, breathing heavy, and that's just from seeing the gay couple. And on top of that, now I'm having a panic attack. So I duck inside a restaurant, and immediately all kinds of, I said, what is that? I never smelled that. And I said, what's this? And they said, foreign food. And of course they didn't say that. They said whatever it was. But I heard foreign food, and everybody was looking at me. So I took a bite. I said, I'll try it. And I spit it right out. I said, what did you put in this? He said, sir, that's called seasoning. I said, get me the hell out of here. Get me back to God's country. Get me back to the land of chicken tenders and fries. So no, I'm running down the sidewalk, which for me is just a brisk walk, but I'm running. And a homeless man, he comes out of the alley and he says, hey, buddy, can I get $1? And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm not your buddy, guy. But out on the outside, you know, I'm a MAGA Christian. So I said, go on, get. And then I keep going down the sidewalk, and then right in front of me at the intersection, somebody stole an Amazon truck. He had an Amazon hat and an Amazon uniform on, one of them scanner things, but he was darker than me, so he stole the truck, and that scanner was probably a gun, but it was a war zone. And finally, I was just overwhelmed, and I was cold. It was January 6th, I think it was. So I ducked into the Capitol building to stop off at the gift shop, maybe take a dump on Nancy Pelosi's desk and beat a cop with a Blue Lives Matter flag, but it was only then that I felt safe from the war zone.